saying? They could defend themselves. The only person that would ever be a prey in the prison system is somebody that come through there and, you know, they want to be somebody's. You got to want to be somebody's. You got to be already had that in you. But you know what I'm saying? If you come through there and you move correctly, you know what I'm saying? Even if you have a fight or two, once the know you a fight, they off your ass.
Prison Stories 101. We got him in the building, man. Pimpin, once again, got him back.
Hey, what's up, my brother?
How's it going? First and foremost, as we get started, if you don't mind, reintroduce yourself and let them know how much time you did.
Well, my name is Ken Ivey, aka Pimpin Ken. Our first time I ever went to prison, had a felony for attempted murder in Chicago. It was at the Cook County Jail. Next time I had a felony for forgery. They sent me to Wales Reformatory School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
And overall, you did 10 years, man.
So let me break that down. So I did about 3 years in the boys' school. I did another 3 years in the state joint. Then I did 5 years in the feds joint, 5.5 years.
Man. All right, one thing I wanted to do, because as we're speaking and as we're having this conversation, just here in Dallas-Fort Worth, we had a trial that was kind of rocking the city for the past year. A young man by the name of Karmelo Anthony, 17 years old at the time, I believe it happened, or maybe he was 18. That happened last April, where he, in his mind, defended his life as far as self-defense and took another young man's life. The young man was Caucasian. Both students were in high school at the time, both looking to graduate. The trial just happened. It was a little less than a week of regarding the actual testimonies and witnesses and deliberation to where the jury, which was not an all-white jury, but it was no blacks on the jury, came back and found the young man guilty. And of course, the same jury did the sentencing phase and sentenced him. It was in between 5 years and life. They ended up sentencing him to 35 years. If you don't mind, before I even ask you the question, can you give me a take on just that scenario in itself, as far as that young man carrying a blade to attract meat and having to use that fatally to, of course, fend off an oppressor?
Well, they say you're guilty, but you have a reasonable doubt, right? So they must have found reasonable, for the charge and with the case. Now, that case is kind of peculiar because when you think about it, and you say that he used the knife in self-defense, that's one thing. But the duty of the prosecutor is to prove that it was intent. You know what I'm saying? So it was premeditated that he brought the knife. That's how they presented. Now, his defense team have to be able to strategically show that he didn't have any intent, that the intent only occurred when the guy decided to be the aggressor and he defended himself. Obviously, the defense attorney wasn't savvy enough to create reasonable doubt, and the jury ultimately found the young man guilty. But I don't know if you know this, but in America, if you black, you automatically guilty. Sometimes the burden of proof is, that to prove that I'm not black, that I'm a white man, that I'm a Jewish, I'm a Italian, I'm white, you know what I'm saying? And the way the system is structured and the way the systemic racism is structured is that every time you look at the news, the depiction that you see of a black man is always negative, right? So we always guilty because there's a lot of guilty things that goes on in our community that's being plastered across the media. So when a young man, who's a track star or who has no intention or has no criminal record, is caught up in a situation or scenario like that, he got to get the backlash from all of the other African Americans that's plastered on the news. And that's the perception that they have. You know, a lot of times people say, well, how important is the jury? The jury is as important as a congressman. If you think about a congressman, if you're a congressman from Iowa, you're a congressman from Illinois, the problems in Illinois are way more significant than the problems that's in Iowa. But guess what? The Iowa congressman votes against everything that's beneficial to Chicago because he don't have the same problems in Iowa that they have in Chicago. So Barack Obama made the statement, why don't you just have a national voting campaign for all of the congressmen and let the people vote them in, so there'd be a constituent for all the people. You know, there'd be liable for all the people. But the same thing with the criminal justice system. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, if we're gonna pick juries, if we're gonna pick people to make decisions on people, then we should make sure that we pick a collage of people that represent the person's interests, right? So if it's all white and some non-white, but Mexicans or whatever they were, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the chances of those people understanding, you know, the plight and understanding, you know, how African Americans are depicted in this country is slim to none. So the guy was guilty before he even stepped on the stand because they have a preconceived notion of what this person is all about. And the most dangerous man in America is a young black man because we the one that's doing a lot of killing, you know, we're doing a lot of drug dealing, you know, we're doing a lot of stuff, you know, and that's a small percentage, but they take that small percentage and they put it in a pot and they say it's all of us.
Yeah. Now, you yourself, of course, got in your first hit of trouble at the age of 14.
Right.
For those who don't know how this works, he was hit with, of course, this is a state charge, so he's not doing federal time, but they end up sentencing him to 35 years state. For those who don't know, how does that work? How much time will he have to do?
Well, different states got different laws. You know, some laws got 85%, some laws got 50%, some laws you get out with good time and good behavior. Now, in the case of this guy, you know, he coming in at 17, it's going to be how he matriculate in the prison system. If he go in there, he get with a clique and he start gang banging, he can potentially do 25, maybe 30 years. If he get in there and he become a model citizen and a model inmate and he start, you know, what we call jailing and programming, you know what I'm saying, he might get out in about 15 or 20 years. The parole might, you know, say, you know, but then, you know, he went to trial, so that's a good thing. The good thing about going to trial is that while he's in there as a young man, he's going to probably go into the law books. And he's going to find different cases that coincide with his cases that he'd be able to probably get back on the appeal. You know, so because of the self-defense clause and the self-defense disposition that you were talking about, there's potential that the Supreme Court might not see it in the same capacity as the judge, as the jury seen it. Jury is just one tier. You know, you got the appellate court, you got the Supreme Court, you know, there's all levels to the court system. So, you know, he could potentially be coming home and not do no more than maybe 5 or 10 years if he can get back on an appeal.
For him being, and mind you, he's 19 at this time. As far as you know, he was released on bond, so he was at home this whole time for this past year. Of course, once the guilty verdict hits, he didn't expect the guilty verdict, I think, to go down the day he thought his attorney had more to kind of fight for. Mm-hmm. But they put him in handcuffs immediately and said, you know, now this is your life. The rules have changed now. When you were in there, all prisons have different, you know, setups and the way they kind of run things. But for a 19-year-old kid, and I met the kid one time, and he's a good kid. You know, mm-hmm. You know, plays football, goes home, play Madden, talk to his friends on Fortnite. Just a good kid. Of course, he's from Louisiana, so I guess, you know, in his life or in his times, he's like, I should carry a knife to defend myself. But overall, a good kid, not part of no gangs and nothing like that. How will he have to adjust to prison? From your experience or even from others that you saw coming in at 19 who is technically not of the street world? How do they adjust?
Man, when I first went to the detention center, I thought they was gonna let me out. I stayed a couple of days. And I realized that was my reality. I started boo-hooing like a baby. I said I was a baby, I was 14. I said, man, why these people got me here? I ain't do nothing, you know what I'm saying? And within a week, reality hit me in the face. You know what I'm saying? Niggas jelly, niggas playing domino, niggas playing spades, niggas eat prison food. You like, I ain't gonna eat that shit. You start eating the food, you start playing dominoes, people start telling you they war story, you start telling war story, then eventually you get into the system. You know what I'm saying? The body, it's 3 levels of intelligence. One is IQ, right? IQ is intelligence quotient. EQ is emotional quotient, and AQ is adaptability quotient. Most human beings can adapt to anything, you know what I'm saying, based on their adaptability quotient, intelligence. So your intelligence, your natural adaptability quotient would come into play, you will start doing your bit. But initially, you're gonna be resistant. You're gonna think that, that it's a pathway out. But once you realize that, and they call it conditions response, right? Give you an example of condition response, a guy named Pavlov, right? Pavlov, he did a theory on this dog. So what he did was he would feed his dog every day at a certain time. And when he feed the dog, he would ring this bell. You know what I'm saying? And so when he ring the bell, the dog would run out and look for food. So one day he ring the bell and there was no food, and the dog started salivating, and he was looking for the food because he was conditioned. Elephant, he was in this circus, ton. They put a chain and ball on his feet. Every day the elephant would jerk the chain. After about a good year, they put a rope on it. He pushed the rope. The rope would feel like the chain. So one day, it was a fire and the tent burned down. All the elephant had to do was rush. But because he was conditioned, and programmed to believe that this was a chain, and the chain got on his brain, that the elephant died, and that's the same thing with the human brain. Once you realize that this is your condition and this is where you're gonna be, and this is your reality, you do that time. You know what I'm saying? And you can either you can do hard time, or you give somebody and say, man, this is how you do time, or it can be smooth, and you can try to go in that law library and figure out a way out, pathway out.
Yeah, again, the fact that he wasn't sitting in jail this whole time, that he was free, again, as a kid, technically, he has to now adjust to prison life.
He will adjust.
How long do you think normally does it take to adjust? Like you said, sometimes it's that first, domino game. It's that watching that movie.
It takes about a week. And then what you do is, it's called the mob effect. The mob effect is that when they first tell you they ring your door, you looking around and you wonder why they got this door open. And then you see people walking out and they're heading to the chow hall. Or you see people working out, going to the gym. Then you just start following the people. After a while, it dawns on you that this bell mean get up and go eat. This bell mean go to the gym. This bell mean go to work. You know what I'm saying? And then you start adopting, and you realize that, it's other people in here that got just as much time or less time than you, and they jealous. So you start immediately adapting to your situation. It's called adaptability quotient. You're going to adapt. People do it all the time.
What type of prison does one go to when he is in there for murder? Again, it was self-defense, but no matter what, he's guilty.
Well, because of his age, you know what I'm saying, they can throw him in the lion's den and put him in there with the gangbangers and all that stuff and consider him a hardened criminal. Or, the system can have some sympathy on him and say, well, it was self-defense. He's not a typical murderer. It wasn't like it was premeditated. So they'll probably put him in a lesser camp. But you know what I'm saying? If the guards want to be an asshole, they can put him straight in there in what we call funk school, where he got to go for what he know. You know what I'm saying? And you're either going to join the Muslims, you're going to join the Christians, you're going to join the Bloods, the Crips, the GD, vice versa. You're going to have to join somebody. You cannot make it in prison what we call a neutron. That's what they call them.
How does that work when you were none of that in the free world, and now you're into this world to where there are sections and you got to join some type of tribe, I guess you could say.
Man, I seen white boys looking like Urkel with glasses on, gang goofy, coming at motherfucker, man. And after that, while they give them Aryan Brotherhood, them Hitler niggas, them motherfucking swastika ass motherfuckers, them same white boys, you see them walk around, they got a chest, they got knives and shit, and they adapt to the prison culture. You know, prison is a culture. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna either join something or you're gonna be ran over. And numbers is in strength. After a while, you figure out that I had no other choice. You got white guys who are not racist are claiming that they are Nazis and they're skinheads because they know that's the only way they can survive in the prison. You got brothers who are born Christians, who raised in the church, you know what I'm saying, me practicing Islam and practicing it well. Because, you know what I'm saying, the prison, you know, forced them. You got brothers who gangbanging now, who never gangbanged in their life. They're doing some serious gangbanging because they in the prison system. So, you know what I'm saying, you have really no choice. Especially in the feds, they call cars. Like in the feds, you got to be a Texas car, or Atlanta car, or Milwaukee car. You got to get an A car. No if you got to check in your paperwork too. So as soon as you go in, you got to let them know that you ain't snitching. If you snitching, they're gonna say, get him off of this. If he in your car, get him off the yard, make him check in. You gotta check in, you gotta go to a minimum count where you gotta go where the homosexuals and the snitches at.
Yeah. When it comes to those people who are doing life, who've been in there for 20, 30, 40 years, they ain't going home. When they see a new inmate come in, like 19, green, do they look at him as prey or do they allow him time to adapt or day one?
Well, you know, everybody that come through ain't gonna be prey. You got some of these niggas that got some hands, you know, they can fight, you know what I'm saying? They can defend themselves. The only person that would ever be a prey in a prison system is somebody that come through there and, you know, they want to be somebody's bitch. You gotta want to be somebody's bitch. You gotta be already have that shit in you. But you know what I'm saying? If you come through there and you move correctly, you know what I'm saying? Even if you have a fight or two, once them niggas know you a fight, they off your ass. You know what I'm saying? So if you come through there and some niggas talking shit, all you gotta do is hit the first two niggas and let the guards break the fight up. Because you're only gonna get 2 hits before the guards are jumping their way, but you still gonna get your respect. Like, he'll fight. Some dudes come in, niggas will slap them upside the head, and they run in the corner and they acting like little cowards. Those are dudes that become prey, the ones that won't fight.
Yeah, they say fight, fuck, or bust a 60, meaning that you come in, they gonna see what you're about. Some men may try to extort you. They may try to offer protection to you in order to get, you know, they might saw, even the young Karmelo Anthony, they saw he had a GoFundMe. You know, oh, your parents got, you know, $500,000 for you this, so that means you got some money in. So some guys may come in, and again, he's green. Some guys may come in and try to, of course, offer help or buddy, you know, get the buddy. How does one notice when someone's trying to on you?
Well, the good thing about murder, right? When nigga know you got a body, they kind of don't approach you the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but if you go in there and, you know, you're on some other shit, you know what I'm saying, and you weak, you know what I'm saying, niggas will come at you. But, you know, very rarely do you see that extortion. Only time you see extortion is when it's from the gangs. You know what I'm saying? So the Muslims, you know what I'm saying, depending on what type of Muslim they may, if they the black mafia fan, they might extort you. They might offer you protection. You know, if you rich, you know what I'm saying, and you got a lot of money and you ain't in the gang, you may have to, you know, hire some brothers, but they more like a cooperative. It's like, you know, like any other security system. You know, they got like John Gotti. I heard he had 3 or 4 brothers in there protecting him. You know what I'm saying? You know, he's paying them. So, you know, that it could be that kind of, you know, security, or it could be, you know, but most niggas that come in prison, they adopt real quick.
Okay.
I mean, it ain't like what people in the streets think. It ain't like that. Most homosexuals that's in prison are already homosexuals. Yeah. Or they decided in the course of their time that they're never gonna be with a woman, and they probably decided to be a woman. You know, somebody probably, you know, flipped them or something.
How does it normally work with high-profile cases when technically the nation is watching the case.
They might put him in, they're going to start him off probably in PC, protected custody. Because, you know what I'm saying, I mean, you know, they know a lot of people in joint too. A lot of niggas, you know, they see you a high profile like Jeffrey Dahmer, see what happened to him.
Exactly.
They killed him because niggas wanted to get a recognition. Nigga already got life. Niggas want to be like, yeah, I killed Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's prison stripes.
Yeah.
You know, some niggas do shit in prison, man, to get stripes, you know. And like a nigga, you know, they'd take a high profile nigga and try to kill him, you know what I mean, or hurt him if the nigga ain't got no juice, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, nigga like Larry Hoover come through, they ain't fucking with Larry Hoover. They ain't fucking with Jeff Ford. They ain't fucking with none of the bosses. But if a motherfucker come through there and he's a superstar or something like that, they might try to, you know, try that nigga. But niggas that, you know, Big Meech, you know, he ain't gonna have no problem with prison. He was a high profile. He walked the yard every day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's why I said he might go to PC for a little while, just to get acclimated, like right now.
Well, they're gonna have to, and then they're gonna make them sign a piece of paper. Do you want to go in general P, in general population? If he say yeah, then they're gonna say, well, you know, we're not responsible for you if you sign that piece of paper. But initially, you know, because he's a high profile inmate, they're gonna definitely offer him protective custody.
Okay. In a situation like this, how important is it for your mama, your daddy, your sisters, family, friends to help you get through this time? Whether you're getting letters, phone calls. I know some people start falling off after a while, but how important, from an inmate standpoint, to get someone that's actually writing you, calling you, or that's answering the phone, sending you money? How important is that to get through your time?
Well, I could say the percentage is probably 90% that the people gonna leave you hanging like wet clothes in projects, right? You know, I often talk about how my mama didn't come see me in prison, nor my dad, you know, hurt my heart, you know what I'm saying? But in prison, we got this thing called kites, and kites is like correspondence. So we get the local newspaper and we write bitches from the local newspaper and we start a correspondence on them. You know, some bite, some don't. You know, and most niggas in prison, you know, if they don't got nobody to come, they can find a damsel in distress, an old fat white bitch or an old fat black bitch and get them to do their bit with them. That's what most niggas do. Every now and then a wife will stay 5 or 6 years and she leave because the pressure is too hard. A girlfriend stay 2 or 3 years, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the family, you know what I'm saying, stay 2 or 3 years. The only thing that keeps a motherfucker for years is a motherfucker got some real money. If he was a kingpin, then them motherfuckers, they stand as long as they can to try to get that money. Once they get the money, or once he run out of money, they even disappear, you know? So, you know, and then after a while, you don't even want to get no visits.
Okay.
You know, yeah, because you get tired of seeing motherfuckers walk in and leave out. You know what I'm saying?
It disrupts your world a little bit.
Especially you got a lot of time. You trying to bit. Especially you got that shank, you got that knife, you sharpen that tool. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I used to have newspapers, and I used to take the shoestrings out the shoes. I used to tie it, I make me a bulletproof vest. We call it bulletproof vest in prison. And it'd be newspaper, you got that, you got your motherfucking big XXX shirt on, you know, you probably a large, you got a XXX shirt on, you know, you're looking buff and shit, but you're really protecting yourself. And then you get to doing the bit, you selling motherfucking suits and boots, Zuzus and wham-whams, you hustling niggas, you gambling and doing all kind of shit. And you know what I mean? You become a part of the prison culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They got liquor, they got dope, they got phones, they got everything. Some of the guards is fucking. If you got $1,000, you get some pussy in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that shit, niggas live better in jail than niggas on the streets live.
Damn.
But you know what I'm saying? You know, and a lot of those prison guards, especially in those black joints, you know, they doing everything. Them bitches hoeing for real.
Oh yeah, you said $1,000. You know, people tend to
man, some of them bitches get 10,000. You know what I'm saying? But them niggas, they got phones, so they got motherfucking shit flying in and dropping them cell phones. The guards bringing the phones in, the guards bringing weed in. There's more drugs in prison than there on the streets. They take all the vegetables, all the niggas take all the vegetables and they take the water and they make liquor off the fruit. And they call it hooch up in there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's niggas is really, you know, the prison have a negative version, but it's some street and some player shit going on there too. You know, niggas, you know what I'm saying? Niggas got conjugal visits and shit. Niggas hook a nigga up with a bitch and a nigga married a bitch and nigga be able to get conjugal visits, nigga getting 10 to 15,000 every time that hoe come through that motherfucker, man. You know what I'm saying? Niggas doing that type of shit. The bitches, the guards. I was working with a guard in MCI Memphis. Her name was Miss Glover. You know what I'm saying? I was her personal assistant, man. Niggas was fucking that bitch. I just didn't fuck her because I'm trying to go home. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I only had a year left. I wasn't thinking about that bitch, but I watched this bitch take motherfuckers upstairs and fuck them and get paid. You know what I'm saying? I just seen niggas, you know what I'm saying? Now, I ain't been there in years, but one of my partners, he had about 100, 200,000 that motherfucker he had on Cash App. That nigga sent $5,000 out to the streets. You know what I'm saying? I mean, off of Cash App. Niggas getting money, they got Cash App, they got every app you can get paid on, Zelle. So niggas is doing the most. And some of them ain't never coming home. But some niggas, you know what I'm saying, they probably got their family coming because they're taking care of their whole family from the joint. You know what I'm saying? I know some niggas, man, I got some niggas in Mississippi, man, came home rich.
Remind me, what units did you serve on? What units did you move to? Where were you serving your time at?
Okay, so I went to Cook County first for attempted murder at 14. Got out of that bullshit. Went to Milwaukee, went to Wales, went to St. Charles and all these little motherfucking places you go to in Milwaukee. Then I went to Green Bay. That's Gladiator School. That's where the real prison wall. They got a wall, 60-foot wall. You got real cells. So I went there, and that's where I got my. I really got my. I was a good boxer. I got my reputation in Wales. But by the time I got to Dodge, this one nigga, he was about 6'2", nigga built like a diesel. Nigga walk up to me, man. God was with me. I threw 2 punches and knocked him out.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? In front of the whole child hall. This is
straight for the chin, or what you?
I hit him right here. You know, so my dad always said hit somebody in the chin. So the nigga, he hit the floor, and there's another place called House Correction. I whooped a few niggas up in there, and then when I whooped that nigga, you know what I'm saying, niggas knew I wasn't having it. But then I had about 2 or 3 more fights up in that motherfucker. That's why I got stabbed right here for the shank. Nigga stabbed me, nigga out of New York. He stabbed me.
What was that situation?
We was gambling, and I beat him out of, about $1,000. He was doing life. So I took all his CDs. They used to have cassette players. I took all his cassette players. I took all his cigarettes. I won all this shit. And, I was young, you know what I'm saying? So he was like, man, I need my shit back. I said, nigga, woo, woo, woo. So we went to the mop room. That's what they call it. We got the boxes. So I'm drilling the nigga. I'm all on top of him. And all I felt was blood coming out, but I didn't know where the blood was coming. I thought it was coming from him, but the blood was dripping out my chin. He caught me with the shank. So I seen the shank in his hand. Then, I kicked him and walked away because I was bleeding like a hog. You know what I'm saying? And, that was, I whooped him. Then I had a fight with one of my other guys. Me and him knew each other on the street. I was saying that his partner snitched on me. He was arguing that he didn't snitch, so we got a little fight. And then after that, I had no more drama, man, in the prison. That was Green Bay. Then I went to Cali Marine. I just started taking nigga shit, you know what I'm saying? So I took this one little nigga, he had a gold chain. They let you wear gold up, I took his chain, you know what I'm saying? And my brother was there, he was selling weed, my brother JD. So he had the whole compound on lock. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I was in heaven there. You know what I'm saying? We had all kind of Zuzus and Wham Whams. And all the old niggas, they liked us because we were some players. Then I got out of that shit. Then I went to the feds. So when I went to the feds, I almost got killed because I didn't understand the politics of the feds. I thought it was like the state, you whoop a couple niggas and over, but the feds is clicked up. So I'm at MCI Memphis, and these niggas, they Moors Science Temple, right? And nigga named, what's the nigga name? Cole Eel. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he from St. Louis. Gary, Indiana. He running all the niggas. Then this other nigga, he from DC. my homeboy, Penitentiary Sam, old nigga been in jail all his life, he tell me, he said, Ken, fuck with the moles. I'm like, man, fuck with them niggas, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't fuck with them niggas. What the fuck them niggas is? So Ross Bay, also one of the leaders of it, he said, man, you know, come on, mess with us. So I ain't paying no attention. I thought it was just a bunch of clowns, you know what I'm saying? These niggas some suckers, right? But you know what I'm saying? I've been in the penitentiary. I mean, I was cold with my hands. So I won't worry about it. So I'm on the phone, and niggas said, get off that phone. To me, that's an instant fight. Because you know what I'm saying? I mean, now you're challenging my manhood. I got to fight this nigga. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no other choice. I got to fight this nigga. We in MCI Memphis. We in Chicago. And Penitentiary Sam, one of my daddy's friends, nigga been in jail all his life, put me to the side and said, man, them niggas finna kill you, man. I said, for what? I said, that whole ass nigga, woo woo. He said, bro, don't say that. It's a religious organization. So he called me, he took me over to Ross Bay. I'm sitting down with Ross Bay. We sitting on the bunk and we talking. And, you know, I'm listening to him and he's like, man, woo, woo, woo. He said, man, you ain't got no wins up in here, man. He said, but Sam like you though, man. He said, you know, we fuck with Sam. Sam one of our Mo brothers. I said, say, man, you know, man, I appreciate it. I said, what is this shit y'all talking about, man? What is the more sign simple? So he broke it down to me. And I liked it. You know what I'm saying? So I started attending their meetings. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I stayed in MCI Memphis for 6 months. So they end up indoctrinating me into their movement. And then so when I get to the other prison, Rochester, Minnesota, they don't have no more sign simple, but it's a brother named Brown Eel. He breathed on me. He gave me the wisdom, right? Then he hooked me up with Sister Christina Price Bay, was Prophet Noble Drew Ali's secretary, who was the founder of the organization, and she breathed on me. So I started the first temple chapter in Rochester, Minnesota. And you know what I'm saying? I ended up getting to 200 members. The motherfucking warden put me in his cell, or put me in his office, and say, sir, you're too influential. We got to move you. So they moved me from Rochester to Oxford. Now I get to Oxford, that's Milwaukee nigga. That's all my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm fucking with this. I'm fucking with this motherfucking more science temple shit. I'm loving this shit, right? There's some good game in it. So I gets to there and I hook up with the brothers and I get off into that. You know what I'm saying? I had already set the chapter. So I ended up setting up, you know, and hooking up everything up there at Oxford. And then I got all my homeboys to come and join the Moore Science Temple. Yeah. So I never had no problems in the feds. I was always the grand sheik, the leader of that organization. You know what I'm saying, man? And so when I got too big for Oxford, they moved me again to Memphis. Now they moved me to El Reno. So I got to El Reno, that's a prison. They tried to get me killed. They threw me on the yard, like niggas gonna kill me, you know what I'm saying? But you know, this is how we do it. This is more science, you know what I'm saying? We do it like that. So I seen some brothers, you know what I'm saying, who had the kufis on. I threw up the more science sign. The brothers like, well, they said Islam Mo. I said Islam Mo, Islamism. So we got to chopping it up, and then we went to, they invited me to the meeting, and I spoke. I speak so well because, you know, like I said, I was taught by the Prophet Secretary. You know, this was a long time ago, but she was from 1913, you know, in 1930. Yeah. So she was an old lady, but she had all the wisdom. Yeah. So I got up there and I'm popping the game. I'm popping, you know, more science. And them brothers from El Reno, man, they just started surrounding me like I was Farrakhan. I swear to God, I can't make this up. And they like, man, this brother here got to be protected. He got the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So that was easy. Then they kicked me out of that motherfucker. And then they sent me to Memphis, MCI Memphis. The St. Louis brothers and the St. Louis and the DC brothers at odds. Brother named Lynch Bay was running the DC niggas, and another brother, I can't remember his name, but he was from St. Louis. He was running St. Louis. That was the Jerry Lewis Bay clique. Brother named Jerry Lewis Bay had some Moors on the street. Yeah. So I ended up bringing them brothers together. Dr. Williams Bay from DC, Lynch Bay. I got all them brothers together, and they made me the Grand Sheik there. Yeah. So I held that down until I got out of prison. and I had no fights. So I had 2 incidents in the Fed. One dude named Kelly Rooks, I don't know if he's still living, but he was an old nigga out of Chicago. Me and him was running the game. We was hustling up in the prison. We were trimming the white boys in poker. And me and him got into it about some money, and me and him had a little box. I tapped him up a little bit. He's an older man by my standards. I was in my 20s. He's 40-something. And then I slapped the white boy for taking change the TV off of BT. So I ain't had no problem. My prison, that's why I read a lot of books, went to college. And then my prison time was real smooth.
Man, that makes it smooth.
Yeah.
And then even joining the religion, that makes sense. Now, you were speaking on a dude that you said you had when you looked at him, the dude was working out buck masculine, tall.
Oh, yeah, that nigga.
And then he came in, he actually told y'all.
That nigga was in Memphis. Yeah, that was a Crip nigga.
Yeah, Crip. And he came in.
And I told him I'd cut his motherfucking heart. I said, nigga, I'll fuck you up. And the nigga was about 6'6". He had muscle, but it was me exercising courage that made him back down. I didn't show no fear.
I mean, the one that came out and said he was gay. I'm talking about that one. I don't know which. You were speaking on it downstairs, of course, where.
Oh yeah, you talking about what's his name? Roger, the homeboy. That was in Oxford in the federal joint. So he came. We had like Milwaukee niggas. They all come and we hang. We give each other toothpaste and all that shit. Give nigga a care package. So dude got turned out by another dude, and when he came on the yard, he said, "Man, I'm gay." We looked at the nigga like, "You what?" Like this nigga was kicking all the game. We was walking around this nigga. He said, "I'm gay." He said, "I'm gonna tell y'all before y'all hear about it." He just fucked us up, man. Me, Reggie, Seahorse, we was just looking at the nigga. We had another homie made rest in peace named Orbit. Actually, Orbit I ended up having a baby by his sister. So he's my baby. I got a prison I got with his sister. So yeah, man, we seen that shit, man. I forget the little nigga. I think it started with an R, but I can't get his name. But the nigga flipped out on this man, and that was amazing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That was amazing because I heard about it, and you be in prison, you mind your own business. Yeah. But to actually see somebody get flipped, you know what I'm saying, without any aggression or violence, he just flipped out that way. I say he had to be that way all the time.
He's a guy, I believe you were saying, physically you would think that, he's straight and narrow. And then he came out and told y'all what it was.
Yeah. You talking about the pimp dude?
No, I'm talking about the one that was in the Milwaukee car that came and told y'all like, "Hey, I'm gay."
That was a homie from Philly.
Okay. How does that work in that car after he comes in?
You talking about in the prison?
Yeah.
So
how does that work?
So the way that worked was we liked this dude. We walked the yard together. So it was first. We were stunned. And by me being a religious guy and being the leader of this shit, I had to, of course, walk a thin line. I couldn't say, man, fuck that nigga. And man, I was just like, man, the brother going through something. You know what I'm saying? He got some issues. And Reggie, he was a Nation of Islam. And Seahorse was Nation of Islam. And Orbit was Nation of Islam. So we was all Muslims. I was Moorish American, so we kind of like, we didn't take it like, F the brother, nothing like that. We just whatever. And then Reggie, they was cool, so Reggie was trying to, talk them, some sense into him, But the nigga just went on about his business, and we just kind of like, you kind of fade away because you don't want to be associated. Because one of the things about the prison, I'm saying, if you associate with that stuff on any level, the guards will put you in a certain dorm. So you can't be into that shit and be in regular population. If they see you vibrating on that level, they'll put you in a whole nother dorm. Yeah. Even if the male part of it, you know what I'm saying? It's low tolerance in the feds for that type of shit.
Yeah.
So everybody that's identified with that shit, you get put in a dorm. Everybody, they assume. I mean, it's like a psychological thing. You in a dorm with nothing but people of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So you get labeled that way. So a lot of dudes, if they got life, they never come home. They like to be in that dorm.
Right.
Okay,
that. Speaking of coming home, for you yourself, when you got, the last time you got out, you never looked back. And again, I want to speak to even the young man, Karmelo Anthony. He's going to do his time. Like you say, let's just say he's good behavior. He's out by, 30 years old, you know what I'm saying? Let's just say, he just does 10 and gets out. How does it look as far as rehabilitation and getting out into this world and trying to rediscover life? Because like you said, the young man might be a virgin right now.
Man,
course, he might get into some things in prison, but when you got to get out now, you got to have a female, be around family, and they don't want to hear about prison all day. And this is all you've been knowing since you was a kid. How does that work?
See, unlike him, I had early training, so I'm doing 3 months in there. So the niggas that I'm boxing as a youth, I'm saying, I'm giving the business, we end up in prison together. So everybody in the reformatory school ends up in the real prison. So, you know everybody. It's a difference, you know what I'm saying, except for when you go to the feds. So it's like, I was groomed to be a criminal, you know what I'm saying, because I was in the criminality all my life. You know what I'm saying, he gonna have a little, adjustment problems. But when you get reintegrated back in society and you have to matriculate, one of the things that I thought I was gonna be Malcolm X. I came out with a kufi, had some bootlegging CDs. I was hustling, selling socks and shit, you know what I mean? But my partner, JD, at this time, this nigga got a brand new Jag, a brand new motherfucking convertible Benz, nigga got houses everywhere, and this is my partner. So do I take the motherfucking sack and get back in the game, or do I go ahead and do this square shit that I've been talking about in prison? So I end up getting some work from my man, and I gave it to some people that I thought I could trust. And my first week trying to hustle, I get played for everything that I got. So now I'm in the hole. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get back into society. Now, as far as bitches go, you gotta remember, you know what I'm saying? I'm a street nigga. I'm popular in the city, you know what I'm saying? But all the bitches, you know what I'm saying? Like one of my bitches, Nancy, she was dancing when I left. She dancing when I come home. You know what I'm saying? And my partner, he got a boosting bitch. This boosting bitch, bitch named Curling. So I'm coming straight home to, sex, to money. I was with the right crew. We call ourselves the East Side Gangsters. So the East Side Gangsters was already having all the money. But these my niggas. These niggas that I grew up, I'm from the East Side. So, you know what I'm saying? I was getting dished out money, all kind of shit. And the nigga gave me some work and a bitch. And I had a bitch that, was fucking with me before I went in. You know what I'm saying? She got back with me. She liked me. And so I got back into crime, you know what I'm saying? But I just learned how to do it differently, And then I got really into pimping after I was out a year. I said, I can't do this hustling. I can't do none of this shit. You know what I'm saying? I said, I'm getting into the game. So, and then I became legendary in the pimp game, but I don't know, I wouldn't say everybody's transition would be as good as mine because like you say, you gotta remember all my life, since a kid, I was a boss. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The same boss I am now is the boss I was young. I was just a younger version of who I am now. So, my daddy was players. My uncles was players. I never knew not the streets or none of that shit. I was born in this shit, like for real. So, you know what I'm saying? Me coming home getting some money was my thing, not to work a job. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was gonna be Malcolm X. I thought I was gonna be the next Elijah Muhammad type motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because, that's what I was into. And I got into it. I loved it. I loved the teachers of the Honorable Noble Ali. It was like, it was an awakening. But when I got home, reality hit me in the face. I'm back hustling. I'm back, woo. I got pistols on me now. I got 5 pistols, you know what I'm saying? I got 2 on me, 1 in the trunk, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? A whole bunch of the shit going on. You understand what I'm saying? The shit, they got real. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But, then I went to Minnesota and I had a pistol. We had 3 pistols in the car. and we were driving a regular car. My nigga Lowe was driving. We went to, and they got into it with some niggas. So we, I when I came back, I said, all the time I was riding, I said, I'm facing life. So I slowed down and I stopped being the young nigga. And I got wiser and I just started doing shit different. I started moving more towards the bitches, So, that's how I kind of, I know it's a bad
That's how you your story.
That's a bad way to get back in society, but and then I became the legendary Pimpin' Kid. You know what I'm saying? But I tried to do the right thing when I came home though, Joker. I thought I was gonna be, like now, you know what I'm saying? If you want me to spit some shit, man, I can spit shit for days on the religion. But you know what I'm saying? My partner was doing so well.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? He had all this shit. He ran me around in convertible Benzes and Jaguars, and of course, I'm a part of the crew. You know what I'm saying? So all the little bitches and shit in the hood, they know us. You know what I'm saying? So they want to fuck with me, and bitches want to pay me. You know what I'm saying? And I got the game. I know the pimp game because I started when I was 16. So it was a bunch of temptation. But I shouldn't say this on camera, but I think the game saved me though.
The game said, yeah, you could.
I was gonna catch a murder. There was no doubt about it.
Right around 3 pistols, you waiting to catch a body.
Listen, man, with no doubt about it, I was gonna catch a body.
Yeah, man.
I've been shot a few times, and I shot back a few times.
Oh,
and I'm telling you, what I'm saying, the hood that I'm from is baby Chicago. So, and there is based on. My neighborhood based on intimidation.
Yeah.
If you selling a lot of dope, you get a lot of money, niggas come and see about you. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? The only way they don't see about you if you start seeing about them back. So I don't give a fuck if you're pimping or whatever. And so when I got to DC, remember I told you I went to DC and I had to get my pistol up to become an official pimp? I gave my pistol up. You know what I'm saying? This is after I'm out 2 years. I gave him a pistol up. I haven't carried a pistol since.
You began from here on out.
I haven't carried a pistol since, but then I'll go back to what we were talking about in the other interview, that as long as I had the pistol, I jump out on niggas and pistol whoop them. You know what I'm saying? Nigga talk crazy to me and shit, you know what I'm saying? It's on. You know what I'm saying? We're in the shootout. You know what I'm saying? It was like, as long as I had the pistol, the minute I got rid of the pistol, I became smooth. You understand what I'm saying? But I was a criminal all the way until I got rid of the pistol. You feel me?
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm curious, would you say prison makes better criminals? Like if you went in either not a criminal or a small time criminal, that it makes you more...
Okay, a classic example. You asked me about how did I really get pimping. I told you about the nigga I was in the joint with, Pimpin' Pope. Yeah. Pimpin' Pope was one of our biggest pimps in Milwaukee. That nigga, you understand what I'm saying? He shot a nigga because the nigga was jumping on his car. He shot a nigga up off his car. I got the game. I'm having bitches. I had a few hoes and shit in my career when I was 16. But this nigga is the creme de la creme of the pimping. And me and him sellies. He got 6 or 7 white hoes coming to see him every day, bitches sending him money. And I'm watching this shit in the cell, right, with this nigga. So what did he tell me? He said, Ken, if you want to be a good pimp, you got to go to the doctor and have a triple bypass. You got to have all the sympathy removed out your heart. Made me a better criminal. Now I got the game. Oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? I got to quit loving these bitches. I got to quit with the wood. I got to start asking for it. That's all I needed to hear. Now I come home, like I said, I started off hustling, you know what I'm saying? And once I got the combination to the lock, and I unlocked the combination, and I got strictly on some ism, some pepper, you know what I'm saying? I was shot to the moon. That's how you get pimp again, because prison, a nigga in prison taught me how to be a better pimp. You know what I'm saying? And so prison, all the other shit, robbery and all that shit, I wasn't interested in that shit. You know what I'm saying? My nigga had some work. I tried that shit. That shit don't work for me, man. I told you the first pack I got robbed.
Yeah, you in the deficit.
My own family members took my shit.
Yeah.
So my thing about the game was, about prison, was that prison also made me intelligent. See, we don't talk about a lot of these big words and all that shit I be using. I learned while I was in prison. You know, prison also made me a reader. Yeah. So prison got the pros and the cons. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it, you know, and then after all the knowledge that I gained, and I put that pistol out of my hand, and I realized that, you know, I can make it without the pistol. You know what I'm saying? Me, that's when everything. But crazy enough, you know, I got shot. You know, right a few years after I got rid of the pistol, I got hit 3 times with a 9mm. You know what I'm saying? And I seen the niggas coming. If I'd had my pistol, I would have dumped on them motherfuckers. You know, I would have dumped out the car on their ass and got away with it. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's here nor there. But, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, God was still good. He allowed me to live. But, you know, yeah, you know, prison, man, is crazy, man. A lot of my partners come out, they start youth programs. A lot of them get out, they become truck drivers. There's a lot of positive shit can come out of prison. Yeah. You know, I think that the man that I am is only because I went to prison. Come on. You know, me having early experience in leadership allows me to lead my organization, Hip Hop Fraternity. You know, because I read a lot of books on leadership when I was in prison. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to lead. I'm young, I'm 21 years old. I'm around all these old ass motherfuckers that been in jail all their life, and they trying to test me, and you know, they want, of course, everybody want to be the leader. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going through that shit. So I had to figure out how to deal with people. I had to study psychology at a baby, as a young age, in my 20s. I was sharp in my 20s.
Oh yeah, no.
You know, when I left out that motherfucker at about 24, 25, I was sharp as a butcher knife.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You probably read more books than the normal man in the hood.
Man, because I read every book.
Educational, yeah, you read all the books.
No, in prison, I don't mean to cut you off, joking. In prison, that's how you get your stripes. Yeah. Now, that's why Malcolm X was so sharp. You know what I'm saying? You get your stripes by being educated in prison. Because ain't no jury, ain't no diamonds, ain't no gold, ain't no cars there. Only thing there is here. So niggas with the sharpest minds get the most respect.
Man. That's real. Come on, that's even said a mouthful right there. Mm-hmm. You know, as we do these prison stories, you know, we don't do it to glorify prison. I know you said a lot that might, you know, turn a young man up, but, you know, we don't do this to glorify. We also just try to, for the most part, educate about your experience and going from there. But if you don't mind taking time out to speak to someone like a Karmelo Anthony, or someone who I heard, a little YN who I hear is taking penitentiary chances, who might be in your same fold when they was 14, just trying to get to some money, you know, looking up to the big homies. Speak to them as far as what they may lose if they actually, you know.
Well, I'm telling what my daddy told me many years ago when I was a very young man. Pops told me, he said, son, there's 365 days in a year. He said a swamp can have 365 alligators in a swamp. He said, every one of them alligators can have a full-course meal and be hungry. You can step on their back and they won't even bite you. But all it takes is one alligator in that swamp that had not been ate, and he gonna devour you. He said, all it takes is one day out of 365 days for you to get caught if it costs you a lifetime. And that's what happened to me, you know what I'm saying? Now listen to Pops, man, you know what I mean? He used to always say, Ken, them folks got 24-hour shifts. He said, you gotta sleep, you got to eat. He said, you gotta take a break. He said, they don't take no break, they just switch shifts. He said, if they don't get you today, son, they'll get you tomorrow. They got all the time in the world. He said, all they need is one day out of 365. It's like that alligator. They need one alligator to be hungry to devour you. And that's why I would say to young men, you know what I'm saying? You know, you may be getting away today. You know, you may get away for 60 days. You might get away for 300 days. But all it takes is one day, and it can change the trajectory of your life in the case of Brother Anthony. You know what I'm saying? So all I can say to the young people is what you go through, you grow through. Life in which you get into is what you don't allow yourself to get into. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. You know, belief is everything. Whatever your mind believes and conceive, it can achieve. You know, so put your thoughts in front of everything, because the thought is the cause of it all. Your mama didn't just like your daddy. Your mama thought about how fine he was. She thought about that wood, and he gave her some wood, and you here because they thought. You know what I'm saying? I mean, had he not thought about your mama, you might not been born. Had you not committed that crime, thought about getting away, you might have not been in the penitentiary. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think positive, keep a positive mental attitude, you can potentially, you know, bypass some of the things that I went through. And remember, man, you know, be by yourself. Practice humility. Practice silence. Silence is the best key. I know a lot of y'all like to win arguments, but you can't never win an argument. And if I was standing 50 feet from y'all and you was arguing with somebody, guess what? I wouldn't know who's the fool, you or him. All I know is that y'all both arguing. So when you argue with a fool, you become a fool too. You know, and get rid of that dead weight, man. That'll keep you out of prison. Don't follow the Joneses. Don't follow the norms. You know what I'm saying? You know, do your own thing. You know, sometimes you follow the crowd will lead you straight down Telly Park. You know, and dead weight is simply a book pack on your back that weigh 50 pounds. Once you take that book pack off your back, you're gonna feel like Muhammad Ali. You're gonna be able to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta get rid of that dead weight. And one thing I'm gonna close with is the eagle. I love eagles. Eagle is the American bird. Eagle wings spread 9 feet. Eagles don't fly, they soar, just like this here. When the eagle sees a storm, it goes into the storm and it shoots up into the storm and it propels to the highest peak because eagles fly high. If an eagle see a pigeon, an eagle fly away. I ain't got nothing against the chicken. I ate some today. But the thing with the chicken, but when the eagle make love, it glides in the air. You'll never see an eagle and a chicken making love because the chicken only jump 3 feet. So, but the problem with the eagle is not that he can beam down on his prey and see it 100 miles away. That's not his problem. His problem is not his strength in his paws. His problem is when he catch a weasel. When he catch a weasel, he ascend 10,000 feet in the air and he descend 10,000 feet to his death because the weasel eats his heart off. And that's what these weasel ass bitches and niggas gonna do to you. Let them go. Don't be like the eagle. All the great things I told you about the eagle. His simple flaw was a weasel. Your flaw would be a weasel ass nigga. A nigga that's a snitch. A nigga that's jealous. A nigga that don't want to see you do good. A nigga that's gonna try to sneak you about your bitch behind your back. Dirty ass nigga, you know what I'm saying? Nigga that got tenderness up, a weak ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? Or a weak ass bitch that's trying to sneak and get your man. You know what I'm saying? That's playing with your man behind your back. That's stealing your clothes. Those are weasels. Get them out of your life, young man, young woman. You'll be all right. You know, you'll be all right.
Come on, man. Man, that's a sermon right there. You done gave a mouthful. If you don't mind, Kenan, for those who want to follow, the HHF movement, if you don't mind, just kind of dropping some knowledge for people that want to see what Pimpin has going on.
Well, the Hip Hop Fraternity is an organization I started in 2000. And the purpose of the organization is to give young artists an opportunity and a platform. So we feed the artists for free, we let them perform free, we let them park for free. We've been doing this for 7 years straight. Well, 6 years, going on 7. And we have the HHF Awards, we have HHF Clothing, HHF Magazine, HHF Radio. We have our own social media app. You can house it or you can get on it through HHF Social on Android and then eventually on iOS or Apple pretty soon and Microsoft. And we also have the HHF Awards, which is an annual event that we throw, and we praise our artists. We have HHF Films, which we got a movie coming out with Ice-T, Boosie, and Rick Ross and myself, and one about Pimp C, about his death. We got a literary agency, you know what I'm saying? I signed Boosie to a book deal. I signed Rick Ross to a book deal. So we signing people, we doing movies, we doing our own app. We got our own clothing line, and we about to do our own music distribution. So We want everybody to just go to Real Pimp Ken _. And we also got a new thing that I put out. It's called On the Spot with Pimpin Ken. And On the Spot with Pimpin Ken, I pull up on you and I pull my camera phone out and I just catch you spitting lyrics on the spot. So if you see me, just say, Uncle Ken, I want to get on the spot with Pimpin Ken. We put it on all our platforms. You get millions of people see you. All the A&Rs, all the record labels, everybody get a chance to see your flavor. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
With that being said, I got to say, man, it's been not only an honor, but it's been a blessing to have you on the platform. Thank you for speaking on the situation that just recently happened. Hopefully someone out there in the world is understanding what even that young man is going through and what a lot of young men are going through, whether black, brown, white, whatever they got to go through when they kind of get into that system. So you did your time, man. You out here, you redeemed yourself, and you putting young brothers on. So I appreciate you. With that being said, Pimpin Ken, this is Prison Stories 101. I salute you, man.
Salute.